Welcome to the third discussion panel accompanying the hackathon, the SDK, the Green Software Foundation SDK. So this is climate aware, carbon aware and carbon efficiency and measurement SDK hackathon. And to discuss the hackathon itself and what our aims are and where we feel that the GSF is going with all of this, I've got three great guests today. I've got Ali from Goldman Sachs, Colleen from VMware, and Chris from Avanade. And I'm going to let them introduce themselves now. They all represent sponsors of the hackathon, and I think that we can all agree that the prize is quite revolutionary. I mean, it is a shed load of cash for which we can thoroughly thank the sponsors, and it'll be interesting. It'll be absolutely fascinating to see where this goes as a result of such a large pot of cash to be won from this hackathon, because it's a business changing. For a startup, it is startup seed money. So it'll be very interesting to see what comes out of this hackathon. And I think I've never seen anything like it. My jaw dropped when I heard how much the funding actually was associated with this. So thanks again to our sponsors for handing over a large chunk of money. Let's get all three of them to introduce themselves now. So Ali, do you want to start?
Sure, yeah. Well, and thank you, Anne, for moderating this important discussion. As you mentioned, we're also excited to be a part of this, and Goldman Sachs is especially excited to be a part of the hackathon. So thanks for putting this together. As Anne said, I'm Ali Vaughn from Goldman Sachs. I work in what we call core engineering, which is the shared technology solutions for the firm, where I run product management and privacy engineering and cloud FinOps, so a lot of different components, and also serve as the managing director advisor to the green software engineering team at Goldman.
So, Colleen?
Yeah, great. I'm also very excited about the hackathon and so thrilled that VMware was able to sponsor this. And I've just been bragging to everybody that we're involved. My name is Colleen Josephson. I'm a research scientist at VMware. My background is in wireless communications and sensing, but since starting at VMware, I've been doing a lot of work in the sustainability space, particularly as it pertains to telecommunications. And I also happen to be the org lead for VMware's involvement in the Green Software Foundation.
Excellent. So, and last but not least, Chris.
Hey, Anne. Good to chat with you again. I am very sad that you yourself are not part of the panel, but I'm glad you're moderating, even if we won't have as many arguments as we've had in the past. So yeah, I'm from Avanade. I'm our head of open technologies and open source here. Avanade's committed to being a responsible business, but I'm also personally excited to get the chance to be the open source working group chair and help to build and steward all the great tools the foundation is making. Thank you.
Excellent, that's good. So one thing so I've got a huge list of questions that to ask everybody, which we will barely scratch the surface of, is my suspicion on this. But I'm actually going to go slightly off the questions for the first one and say, Green Software Foundation, we're a very new foundation. I don't think we have a really clear what it is that we want to achieve with this hackathon. I think we want to kind of see what comes out of it. Because, as I say, it is an extraordinarily large amount of money. But what would you, in your dreams, what would you like to see happen as a result of this? Let's start. Let's do reverse order this time, Chris.
So this is an odd one. If you had asked me a year ago what I'd want to have seen, it would probably be the realization that you can actually green your software now with the techniques and tools that we have. I think today, I'd probably want people to know that you don't have to be a software engineer to take part. And I'm hoping we will see designers, business analysts, even lawyers and others actually aware that everyone can be part of the difference.
That's great. So reversing order again, Colleen.
Yeah, so I was excited to see the SCI released the alpha and versions. And I used to do a lot of software engineering. Now I have less and less time that I spend in front of the computer. So I haven't had any time to really sit down and dig through what's going on there. So I'd be really excited to see are some of the applications that come out of this that really, I'm a very application driven person for learning. And I think that some of these projects are going to be really helpful to seed ideas for others. Just like, a tutorial for how to use the SCI built by all the different participants to really help it catch on and, make it easier for people everywhere to start to use it within their companies, within their research, kind of wherever it might happen to fit.
Yeah, and I would add on to what Chris and Colleen have said, and just echo that this is a hard problem. Sustainability in software is a hard problem, and developers love hard problems. And so bringing this many developers to a problem and giving them the tools through the SCI or other tools, like what better way can we come about with coming up with some real solutions and bringing awareness to the problem and to potential solutions, I think is really, really powerful. And the beginning, hopefully, of a much broader discussion with a lot of large organizations like the 3 represented on this call today. And then I would just respond to Chris by saying, I have a legal background, so lawyers are already here and talking about it.
That's interesting, because the judges must have a really difficult time on this, because it's not normally at a hackathon you're just judging the implementation that's in front of you. Is it a good, is it bad, whatever. But in this case, I would imagine there's an awful lot of, well, what would you do with the money as a result of winning it? Because we want it to go to further the cause. So they will have a real. Is anybody here on the judging panel? I don't think we are we? No. So no.
Yeah,
you are.
I am. I haven't yet got to the point of getting the score sheet and looking through, but I am very excited. I've been seeing the project numbers ticking up, and it's going to be quite a mammoth task.
Yeah, I don't envy you. It's because it's really quite a tough decision compared to because you do have loads of things to balance up.
Yeah, and the criteria is very broad ranging as well across a number of different aspects.
Yeah, that's which I guess makes sense, but yeah, then it just makes it incredibly difficult to because it's quite a large panel of judges, isn't it, that you have to wrangle together to come up with a conclusion.
I'm glad I'm not doing the wrangling either. I'm one of the wrangled, so.
I don't know who's doing the wrangling. I assume our chair is doing that.
I also think it's a great opportunity to work with a mentor. Like the mentors that I've seen on the list that are being assigned to the teams is just a wonderful opportunity just to learn from each other and other perspectives and backgrounds. It's the judges have a tough time, but I think everyone will get a great opportunity to learn something new and think about something in a new way, which is really exciting.
That is exciting. Yeah.
And VMware is our director of sustainable innovation, and in her title, just so perfect compared to research scientist. She's got so much expertise. She's been in the field forever, so I think she's really perfect for the role. I work with her closely. She's an excellent person.
I have to say, I've been very impressed looking at the Discord by the number of people who aren't judges or mentors, but just volunteers hopping on, answering questions, quite late in the evening sometimes in their time, just helping out other people and not taking part in the hackathon. On the one hand, I'm like, great. On the other hand, I'm like, get some of the money.
Yes. Yeah, but don't go on a foreign holiday with it. Use it to further the cause. But I don't know. You can go on a sustainability fact-finding mission to Cuba or something like that. That'd be fine, as long as you sail there under your own steam. But no, actually, oddly enough, I don't think that that eschewing all modern technology is one of the things that I want people to take away from this. We all live in the world. We need to find a way of travel, individual. Turning your lights on, that's all just part of life, and it isn't really where your key win is here. We need to make more high level changes. How do we get people to adopt carbon pricing and things like that, rather than you should get an air fryer or something. distraction greenwashing, which we all need to avoid. So, sorry, I'm going terribly off the questions here, and I will actually go back to the questions that we have for the thing. And this may be the only question we get to answer because it's a big question, which is, so how have, the question I'm going to put to all of you is, how have you seen tech culture change in the past 5 years with respect to sustainability? And how do you expect or want to see it change in the next 5 years? So I will reverse the order again and go back to Ali. Do you want to kick off?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think that's one of the things that makes working in tech so exciting is that the culture is constantly changing. And what I've seen in the last even couple of years in my role at Goldman is the grassroots movement, the focus of developers and non-developer technical people who really care about this and really this is a foundational component to them and how they approach whatever problem or whatever products they work on. And so when we're thinking about attracting and retaining great technical talent, this is a key thing that the firm has to be focused on investing in, bringing to the top level of our own priorities in order just to have the best in class talent pool. And I would go beyond that to also say, I think a lot of things, we talked about this before we started the discussion, I've seen a lot of focus from the cost angle, right? So organizations have been very focused on reducing spend in energy consumption and inefficient systems running or hardware or end of life hardware that needs to be replaced just to save money or security or things like that. But now sustainability is a huge part of that discussion, and people are also saying what is the carbon footprint of the work that we're doing, the products that we're building, and our clients are asking about it as well. And so I think just the awareness that people want to know the answer, people want to ensure that they're doing no harm to the environment through the technical processes that we're running, are what will drive the change that we all want to see and be a part of. And so now it's about harnessing all of that focus and excitement, giving developers the tools they need to go solve these problems, and then starting to report it and hold each other accountable. I think actually measuring it, reporting on it, and improving it is where we really just start to see it change actually take place.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, and I would totally agree with that. The change in the past 5 years from what the hell are you talking about? This doesn't fit at a tech conference to, oh, we should have a keynote on sustainability is astonishing. So, Colleen, what's your thinking?
Yeah, and I think you hit the nail on the head with your last comment. We've seen enormous changes. It's gone from something that's on the fringes to being much, much more mainstream. The last time I was invited to speak somewhere, it was on sustainability. I had to joke that it's become kind of the topic of the year, which is fabulous in my opinion. When I think back to when I went to my first few years of college, the topic of sustainability in what we were studying didn't really ever come up. We would talk about big O and little o, and maybe if you were specifically in the embedded space, power consumption would be discussed. So in short, a lot of us engineers were graduating with a lack of awareness. And it's really finally starting to change. A lot of people are learning right now about how sustainability ties into ICT. And I see a lot of passion from people who are kind of realizing this connection and very enthusiastic about doing their part. And as Ali said, kind of one of the challenges right now is struggling to figure out how you actually give the people who are so passionate about solving these problems the tools to get it done. And that's one of the things that excites me really a lot about the Green Software Foundation and this hackathon in particular.
Yeah, yeah, I think you're totally right there. Chris, what are your thoughts?
So Colleen talked about being asked to speak on sustainability, and Ali talked about kind of the grassroots swelling at Goldman Sachs. I think I've seen a similar change, but for me, it's a few years ago, the focus on sustainability was what happened outside of you. So upstream of you, someone bought some devices and they had to make sure they were responsibly sourced, knew where the minerals had come from. And then downstream of you, you had a thought on how would you recycle the items that you had, the data centers, the laptops, the desktops, but you didn't really care about what you did. You would download a package, you would use it, you would compile it. You might optimize code because it wasn't running efficiently, but not because you cared about the energy usage. So I think that it's gone from how do I let someone else make my hardware sustainable for me to actually, no, I can make a difference. What I do matters. And moving on from carbon, it's what water was used in the factories to create these products, what microplastics are being emitted. Do I even need to put kind of sheeting on my racks? And I think that awareness has scared people, but also changed people's mindsets to make them really positive about the fact they can have an individual change. And I think in a few years' time, I would like to see the tech culture be one from this is another plus one, something I have to think about, to it's just something else I monitor. It's easy to do. It doesn't scare me. And I can see the alternatives that I've avoided by investing in these things. So the alternatives being a very nice way of saying global heat death and things like that. Here's how I've helped to make a difference. Yeah.
Indeed, yes, yeah. It's for me, it's very interesting. I'm a good 15, 20 years older than the rest of you, and therefore I started my career in efficiency is incredibly important because all the machines are really pants and don't run, and to write high performance software, you have to be thinking about carbon efficiency effectively. You had to be thinking about carbon efficiency, but carbon awareness was not a thing. And now it's both. So for both of them, how do you feel that, so we've got SDKs and SCIs around measuring a carbon efficiency and around carbon awareness. Those are two very different approaches. Where do your personal interest lie, or is it both? Sorry, that isn't even a question that I have briefed you on, but of course I'm always going to go off the questions because so does anybody want Chris can start on that because I'm sure you feel better.
Yeah, so it's interesting because carbon awareness is what I started on with kind of the SCI and being part of the standards group. Moving into open source, one of the projects we kicked off after the SDK was the carbon pipeline, which is all about actually forecasting the amount of carbon that would be emitted by Terraform, Pulumi, ARM, Bicep templates before it happens. So for me, it's all about efficiency. I think it goes back to something that Ali talked about, is it's an easier, you didn't quite say this, you were talking about cost optimization. That leads on to it's an easier business case. If you don't just have to tell people, oh, we're trying to reduce carbon to save the planet, but if we can also add on and you can save money, then I think the efficiency plays really nice, as opposed to awareness where sometimes the costs don't change all that much.
For now, once
for now,
carbon pricing in, I think
we're
in it's got
maybe it's UK focused, but we might be having rolling blackouts soon, and one of the things that we're getting is push notifications and SMSs to change energy usage. So yeah, you're right. For now.
Well, and I think that's another really important point, because one of the things that's really difficult to do for a large organization is just report on the right metrics. And so when you're looking at all of the different things that you need to optimize for when you're running a massive technology plant, carbon as another factor is like, it's very daunting to people. It's like, oh, how am I going to go and put this in my systems? That's another thing I need to do, and I don't have budget to do all of these things. But if you can say, like, you're already doing the work, we're just not giving you credit for it. And so we need to start thinking through like how we actually measure on it, and as an industry we agree on that metric. I think that's really powerful, and it's something that is less daunting for leadership when they're thinking about all of the priorities that they need to manage. And so if we had, power reporting on, hey, you're running a process every night that's super compute intensive, and do you need to run this every night? Like, is this a real thing that you should be doing? And people to say like, oh, I don't know, I just hit a button and leave for the day and the thing runs overnight or whatever. Like, actually bringing the awareness to the impact that individual owners and product owners and developers are having, I think actually will be very powerful as well.
One thing I'm really excited about is kind of in telecommunications, there's a lot of both hardware and software involved, and more traditionally hardware. A lot of people think about Nokia and Ericsson and people who build the very specialized equipment that goes into a cellular network. And what we're really finding is the future of so much, but that industry in particular is software defined. Software defined virtualization, those are really the trends that we're seeing catch on. And that's what makes kind of what the Green Software Foundation does so important. And some of the things that I am looking forward to seeing in the future is the ability to do, somebody mentioned metrics. Those are so important. The ability to have fine-grained real-time reporting where we've elevated carbon and energy consumption to the same level that we view kind of uptime, latency, throughput, those metrics that we're used to. I've talked about this idea of adding energy efficiency into our A/B testing. So let's say maybe you have an algorithm where you think you can increase like the throughput or the runtime of some sort of task that you need to do. Well, now you can run it and then get these metrics on, okay, you increased, you met your target, but at the cost of 3 times more energy. And we don't have an easy way to kind of do that right now. And we're starting to build those sorts of things, which is going to be really, really important.
Thanks. Thank you for those answers. They were all very good. Now I will go back to your official, although I think we're running out of time. We'll ask one more question quickly, and then they can always cut it if we've terribly overrun. So one of the other questions I had was that tooling doesn't necessarily need to be just software. It can also be ideas, it can be methodologies. Like Agile is a type of tooling. What tooling would you like to see? You already talked a little bit about this, but like a one-liner, because we're finishing off. What tool would you like to see exist in 5 years that doesn't exist now for carbon awareness and efficiency?
I might jump in just because
Colleen, jump in.
Push myself in. I want to see test-driven development tools. So libraries that let us easily test and monitor energy consumption, all hooked in to the company build system so that it's as second nature as other metrics currently are now.
Oh, that is a really good answer.
Yeah, I love that. And I would add tooling that lets people make decisions, based on the energy source that they're, like, maybe I choose a data center in Oregon because it has renewable energy and I can afford some, sacrifice in latency or other trade-offs, but just something that gives you a little bit better, just like more informed decision-making when you are building your applications.
Yeah, and I think I'll just add on a small one. I'd like the equivalent of food labels, your red, amber, green, just so that someone can, without having to look at all the details, know if I pick this service, I've made a good choice and someone's checked this for me.
And then just to your point on practices, Anne, I would add to that, we talked about it in the beginning, but it's super important that we don't put the responsibility entirely on developers. And I've talked a lot about developers today, but building an inclusive approach to solving these problems, I think, is critical, because you do need, product managers, you do need technical program managers, you do need all kind of skill sets and backgrounds to really tackle this and think of it as a holistic approach to solving it.
Yeah,
I've got nothing to add to that except to say that one's really close to my heart.
I've had people passionate at VMware talking about like papers they've read on more sustainable UX design. It can be really everywhere.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
Yeah, and it can, all your best intentions can be totally rolled over if your procurement department says only go for the cheapest solution and they don't start factoring in long-term carbon awareness, that kind of thing. But thank you very much to all 3 panel members today. You've been excellent. The answers have been absolutely excellent. It's been a very good panel. So thank you very much indeed. And for all you hackathon folk, good luck. And do change the world if you win.
Yes. Thank you, Anne. Thanks, everyone. Good luck.
Nice to meet everyone.
Good to meet you all.